everyone, welcome to Weekend Sports. It is our trade deadline breakdown today. The NFC
What
North
trade?
was fairly active overall. Vikings did get a new QB with Joshua Dobbs. One win with Arizona so far this year. So I don't know how much of an improvement that is after the Cousins injury. I don't think it's going to help them too much, but at least they might have someone who's somewhat sustainable going forward. The Packers trade away a cornerback, Rasul Douglas. He is no longer in Green Bay, so their secondary is a little bit lighter than it was before. They got a couple picks or a pick involved with that. The Vikings also trade away a guard to the Jaguars, Urza Cleveland. He is now a Jag, so that's another player outside of our division. And then the Bears, I would say, making the biggest splash in our division, got Sweat.
Montez Sweat. Yeah.
So
I don't understand that. I don't understand why they were a buyer.
that is probably the
What
most
did they give
confusing
up for
thing.
him?
Third.
Yeah.
I think it's ridiculous.
Washington got 2/3 because
Yeah.
Chase Young ended up going to the 49ers. They did make a trade today, but it was for a wide receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah.
Just because Marvin Jones retired, basically you got him.
Yeah.
Why couldn't the Lions do what these other teams did? Like he was saying, why couldn't you offer a third-round pick for Sweat? Why couldn't you offer a third-round pick for Chase Young like the 49ers did? Because you know what? Guess what? Next year, we're not having a high draft pick.
Or third or fourth.
We're not going to have
Montez Sweat,
Yes.
for a guy who's going to give you double-digit sacks.
We could have had.
We could have given up a third and then said sweeten the pot a little bit. Get rid of JMO or
The
something.
defensive problems have not gone away, even though we had this great game last night by the defense against an absolutely dog shit Raiders team.
Right.
And one local radio personality put it this way, and he was correct in saying, you still have no pass penetration. And when teams that have no pass penetration suck at it, what they do is they rush more people. Instead of front four rushing, you have six. That's what you're rushing your corners and your linebackers more. So the problems are still there.
The only thing I can think of to why we didn't go after them was we didn't offer them exactly what they wanted. We probably called about them. I know you said earlier they might have not liked Chase Young's attitude or just his personality with how he is, and then mix with maybe they felt he didn't mix with the team well. Sweat, I don't know why you couldn't have offered them a
Michigan guy,
third-round pick.
We could have afforded to give away a third-round pick to anybody.
I would only assume they wouldn't have gotten Sweat with a third-round pick because maybe Chicago came in and said, "I'll give you ours." That's a higher pick.
Or
so
we
went with Chicago.
Or we don't know who else they wanted. Did they want someone else in a trade? I don't know.
That's just the one thing. And then you had other players out there that we could have got. I know we were connected with a few Denver guys that we didn't even go try to get. Right? There's a lot of.
We weren't getting.
Did Patrick Surtain stay in Denver?
No, we're not. Yeah.
I figured
we were not going to get him.
I figured
so
we would.
There's a lot of question marks. One thing I can say is the NFL trade deadline seems to be very underwhelming every single year.
It usually is, yeah.
Compared to the other sports, it's a very boring time just waiting for something to happen when barely anything happens.
Yeah, it's kind of like the NFL draft. You got this anticipation, for weeks, months, whatever it is, and then when it finally happens, it's just like, all right, ho hum.
There is some turmoil inside Chicago still, though, because one of their cornerbacks did want out before the trade deadline happened, and they did not get it done. Cornerback Jalen Johnson wanted out of Chicago. He couldn't get out of Chicago. So there's a little bit of turmoil still in Chicago. Don't think Chicago is going to go anywhere. Obviously, the Packers didn't feel like they were good enough trading away secondary. I'm just curious to why the Vikings thought Joshua Dobbs was the answer to not having Kirk Cousins.
I don't think they do think he's the answer, but
maybe he was the best available.
Right. They got to plug somebody in there, and he's at least capable.
He won one game with Arizona.
This year. He's capable, I guess.
Yeah, and you never know what these guys are going to do. I mean, this guy could be a diamond in the rough. Look at Brock Purdy.
I-
Whoever thought that Brock
There's a
Purdy
few, there's
would
a
turn
few
into what he's
people out
turned
there.
into?
Right, there's a few people out there I thought would have been better.
Yeah.
But I don't know what if it's possible to sign him. That Jacoby Brissett, I think, would have been better for
He's
them.
on Washington.
Right.
But had to make another trade with
I mean,
Washington.
I'm not afraid of Joshua Dobbs by any means. I still think
No.
we're going to beat the Vikings twice.
Yeah, especially
The
without
thing
Kirk
is,
Cousins.
though, by
Yeah.
not picking anybody up at this trade
Yeah.
deadline, you're going to have that situation you had in Baltimore. You're going to go through an entire string of crap teams, and then you're going to have to face somebody who actually is
Yes.
above your level,
Yes.
if
If
at
not
your
equal,
level,
which is Dallas.
which is not even so much Dallas, but you're talking the playoffs. You don't want to go into the playoffs just facing crap all year, and then you have to actually see what it's like to play.
Well, yeah. In
So-
cases like that, you start believing your own hype. Just what led up to the Baltimore game, and then you got knocked down a few pegs.
So the current playoff situation, just to entertain the mindsets of everybody to what's going on with the trade deadline. Let's say it ends like it ends, and the year ends like it ends today, how everything's going. You would actually play Minnesota in the first round
At home.
at home.
Right.
Back-to-back games against Minnesota. If not Minnesota, the other 4-4 team is New Orleans.
I think we can fairly say that I would be extremely surprised if anyone other than the division winner in our division makes it to the playoffs. They're not going to make it.
Minnesota likely will not make it.
Green
So
Bay and Chicago for sure aren't.
Yeah.
at the current moment, your 7th seed is sitting at a 500 record. Of course, that's going to change by the end of the year, hopefully. But it might still be like an 8-7, well,
I think
a
you're
9
pretty
and
much set.
18.
I think you're pretty much set with San Francisco, Seattle, Philadelphia, Dallas,
Yeah.
us, and then there's 2 more teams. And who's winning the other division? It'll be either Atlanta or Tampa Bay.
Atlanta and New Orleans are currently tied for the top of the South, and that whoever doesn't make that is currently the odd man out, with Minnesota sitting there.
Right.
So likely what's going to happen, and teams that are still fighting for this. So if you're kind of keeping your mindset on who will the Lions face, if they tie Seattle in record, of course, Seattle has the tiebreaker. You're going to be third, which we're kind of getting off topic, but this adds in all to the trade stuff,
right.
to why you didn't do anything. You're either currently, let's say you finish with the same record as Seattle, San Francisco would be the team you would face at home.
Right.
That is who you would have to deal with.
Well,
So, and that's the
if it's at
thing.
home, I mean, we're going to have to deal with one of them anyway.
Yeah.
Well, if you could keep second place, and like I said, currently you have 1 game up on San Fran. We'll see how Seattle does because they have the tiebreaker with you, and they have the same amount of losses. You hold your destiny with second place, basically, right now. You have nobody in front of you who should stop you from winning at least majority of your games, if not one more game.
Yeah.
You might lose.
Right.
Besides that, you should really go 14-3.
Barring any injuries.
Barring any injuries or anything weird
barring any-
happening.
which
You
is-
should go 14-3. There, you should not lose any more this year. Are you going to lose?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's
Yes.
safe to say that 12 at a minimum we're looking at.
Because we're probably, as much as I say we shouldn't lose to our division teams, we might find a way to do that.
Well, I'm just being.
You're going to fall on your face.
I'm being a
couple of
little
times.
nice about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to put pressure. You got to win. every
I would
game you're
love-
supposed to
So
win.
for everybody who's worried about cold weather games
12-5.
with Jared Goff, as I stated when the season started, to end your year, you are inside every single week besides 1 week. Chicago Bears, December 10th.
All you can hope for is that it's maybe just cold and sunny. and
Regardless-
there's not any bad weather.
Regardless, you're in LA inside. You're at home against the Bears inside. At home against the Packers inside. In New Orleans inside. At Chicago outside. At home against the Broncos inside. Away against the Vikings inside. At Dallas inside. at home inside. You are playing indoors the rest of the
this
year.
schedule is very, very much set up for us to do extremely well,
And
everyone
that-
knows that.
And that might have played part into the decisions Brad Holm made about the trade deadline. Right? Are you worried about this team having to deal with bad weather, having to play a little extra dirty, I guess to say, and being more aggressive at the line because you have to play a more aggressive style of defense more often? He might not be as worried because offensively, as long as your offense is playing to the caliber it should be, and your defense is playing okay, you should be winning your games.
Well, that's great for the regular season, but is that all we're talking about? All you're going to win? I'm saying that because he doesn't pick up anybody like a Montez Sweat, that is going to make it that a player like that would help us.
Well, yeah, I'm not
And I don't
saying it
think a
wouldn't
player
have.
like that's going to help the Bears that much because they still
Right.
have no offense.
Yes. And that's just, I'm thinking, like, if that was part of the mindset, right, you do think you are going to win, but you are going to win all your games but won the rest of the year if that was the mindset. If you help the offense more than you help the defense, you win your games because there is no real challenge to weather for the rest of the year. And you get second place. So you don't have to worry about the weather unless you have to go to Philly. Because if you're second, the only away game you have to play in the playoffs, if Philly is still alive, is Philly.
And we wouldn't win in Philly. I just would say
I
that right
I
now.
don't think so. No.
So that it might come down to that
could
kind
be
of
another
factor.
Baltimore score.
It could be. It very well could be, or you could keep up with it. Like we do not know what this team is fully capable of yet, because I don't think there has been a single game where both sides of the ball has played the whole game. There's been games where the defense has played great on one side, and you could say, right, the offense showed up against the Panthers 42 points, but the defense let up 24 on a 0-win Panthers team.
Well, 1 win, no.
1 win now. At that point, 0 wins. Did your offense really show up against the Chiefs? No, your defense showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Did your defense show up against the Seahawks? No. But your offense somewhat did.
Right.
You won 20-6 against a decent Falcons team at the time.
Right.
But your offense wasn't fully there the whole game.
True.
So
Right.
overall, you haven't had a complete game with your team yet. It may be going on a long stretch of being able to not only hit your bye, but be able to get your team working maybe better together, and not really changing things is maybe their hope to get both sides working at the same time. Maybe. That's my only defense.
They got to get
what's
that
going
working before the playoffs start. That's where I'm looking already, because with Kirk Cousins out, I just can't. God, can you imagine if we don't win our division?
Heads
If
will
Kirk
roll.
Cousins-
As I saw.
You know what?
As I saw in a video, heads would roll
if
it
you
happened.
I'd stop watching altogether.
if
'Cause there
we
ain't no
did,
way.
if we didn't make the playoffs, is that what you said?
If we didn't win the
Well,
division,
If we didn't in the division, there's something wrong.
Oh, right.
We're talking a major collapse, a couple
Right.
of major injuries.
And understand the reason
Someone
they-
probably
getting
not
fired.
Dan Campbell should be fired.
You have a golden
Maybe Aaron Glenn.
opportunity.
Fire Aaron Glenn thing can start up again.
And as has been pointed out, you have a golden opportunity, because next year you're going to have a first place schedule. You are not going to have this.
Yeah, it ain't going to
cake
be
schedule.
easy.
You're going to have to play first place teams.
you're going to be playing Philly,
Yeah,
Seattle, or
our nemesis.
the 49ers.
Right. You're going to be playing tough,
And then
teams.
you already played. And then actually, no, because you're one of the divisions you already play. I think we play the NFC East next year. So regardless, you're playing Philly next year.
Right. Dallas.
But you are going to be playing at least Seattle or the 49ers. And then that's really your only added toughness to your schedule, I would say. Plus, wherever you place, you face the AFC East winner next year.
All right.
So that could be Buffalo or Miami
Yeah.
next year that you add onto your schedule. So it's going to be more losses next year than this year. This is your prime opportunity to put yourself in a good spot going into the playoffs. Hype us up going into the playoffs. And then if you play well in the playoffs, we have the draft.
Yeah.
You're going to have everyone excited for the draft. regardless, everyone's going to be
It won't
excited
be
for the
like
draft.
it was last.
But-
we're going to have.
But it's in Detroit. That's what I'm
we're gonna be
saying.
Picking in the 20s. Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm not pushing no panic button because not much was done. I know not everybody's happy about
How
it.
about the disappoint button? I mean, we were really anticipating some
Yeah.
defensive help, and we just didn't get it. And I think people were just sitting around going, "WTF?"
Right.
You know.
That's what they want. They want a little
Yeah.
bit, but obviously Holmes has some confidence in what
And
we
I
got.
think getting Peoples Jones, it's just a depth move.
Yes.
And further telling JMO that he's probably not in their future
And in
plans. And maybe just telling Detroit fans here's a bone. We got Donovan Peoples Jones.
Oh, right, but did you read his stats for this year? Does he even have 100 yards?
Last year, Mike, he had like 60 receptions, almost had 1,000 yards receiving.
But
Why is he
I
not
don't know
being used
why.
this year?
A
I don't
update
know.
on
I don't know.
our defense, though. James Houston might be back by December.
Oh God.
So that might help. That might not. Right? He's coming off a broken ankle. Don't know how fast he's going to be able to move. But if you're looking at people coming back from injuries, that is when Houston will be back.
Well, we got 2 weeks anyways to get the guys who can come back to come back.
But
so
yeah,
hopefully they give them a week off.
Yeah.
Tell them to rest up, spend time with your families, but be ready to get back to work the following week.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't have to deal with too
Rest
much
up.
pain the rest of the year. But
And
all
then
that,
you know what'll happen in the first game back? It's like Ragnar.
Yeah.
He's out for the year.
Hutchinson tears an ACL.
oh.
No, I don't want to jinx us. I
But-
really don't.
With all that being said, though,
Yeah.
that's our trade deadline reaction. If you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Share the video. Until next time, we'll see everybody soon.